Chicago, 2011. A cop is murdered. Police and prosecutors swear they have the trigger man. He swears he didn't do it. How far will each side go to prove they're right?
Like it's just one bombshell after another, where you're like, what?
The story of a PlayStation, a brain-eating amoeba, and the relentless pursuit of justice. Off Duty, out now. Listen wherever you get your podcasts.
Howdy, howdy, ho, and welcome to Fantasy Fan Fellas. I'm Hayden, producer of the Fantasy Fangirls podcast and your resident lover of all things Sanderson.
And I'm Steven, your bookish internet goofball, but you can call me the Smash Daddy.
And we are currently deep diving Brandon Sanderson's fantasy epic, Mistborn. But here's the catch. Steven here has not read Mistborn before.
That's right, hey. So each week, you'll get my unfiltered, raw reactions to every single chapter.
And along the way, we'll do character deep dives, magic explainers, and Steven will even try to guess what's next. Spoiler alert, he'll be wrong.
Newsflash, I'm never wrong. Episodes come out every Wednesday, and you can find Fantasy Fan Fellas wherever you get your podcasts.
Hello, welcome back to the Psych Legal Pop Podcast. This is a podcast where we talk about popular culture through the lens of an attorney and a therapist. I'm the therapist, Tess Brigham.
And I'm the attorney, Brooke Brigham.
And today we are talking about Love Has Won, the Cult of Mother God. This is a documentary on HBO Max, or Max, whatever they're calling it now, about Mother God, aka Amy Carlson, and her, I guess I would say it's definitely a cult, her group of people.
I think that's clear.
And so just, high level, Brooke, what did you think of this documentary?
It was wild. So it's 3 hours. The first hour, I was just kind of like, who are all these people? I mean, it was very hard to keep track of who these people were and just getting the background. But once I figured that out and it got into, okay, like we're into it now. Then it got really, it got really dark. It was really interesting to hear. They had so many of the former cult members interviewed.
Not all. Yes. And current cult members. A lot of these people are still.
They still talk as if they're in the cult. Yeah. That's what I was trying to distinguish. Because a lot of times in these documentaries, they're former cult members. And so they're looking back on their experience and they're out of it now. But yeah, it felt like to me that most of these people, not every one of them, but most of them were still kind of in the cult, but they don't really have a leader. So anyway, it's I don't know, it's sad. It's a lot of emotions.
Well, and it was also because I was looking back on my notes and I felt the same way you did, which was in the beginning, it was hard to figure out, okay, what's happening? Where are we? What's going on? And the other part of it, too, is the way in which the filmmakers edited this story. They sort of trickle. You learn a bit about Amy in each segment. You don't really know much about Amy and her childhood, actually, until the end. You learn a little bit about Amy, a little bit about her life in the first episode. The second episode, you learn more about her, her adulthood, early adulthood. And then you go back in time again, and then you learn a little bit about her childhood. And so it was very odd. It was just a little bit of, and I kept trying to think, like, what is the filmmaker trying to tell me about Amy? Is this good story? Is this the story that you're trying to tell me? I understood the boyfriend thing when they were talking about boyfriends when we meet Jason Castillo, because he's a character, but it was a little odd of like, how are you sprinkling all of this information in? Because are you wanting us to like Amy? Are you wanting us to empathize with her? Because I would think I'm the empathetic one. And the more I wanted to empathize with her, but honestly, the minute I heard she left her kids, I'm like, you're an asshole. I stopped caring. I stopped empathizing with her. I kind of didn't like her after that. And it was hard for me as a mother to kind of rally and empathize with her again and try to care about her. And I think that obviously there was a lot, obviously there's a lot more going on there. And I think that there was a lot more pain and maybe some mental illness. I don't know. I don't really know what was going on, but I'm still confused about what the filmmaker was trying to convey to us about Amy.
Well, the sense I got was that, she really didn't have a great childhood. And I think she left. So she and her sister, her parents got divorced when she and her sister were very young. She was living with she and her sister lived with their dad and their stepmother. And they ended up having to leave that home and go back with their mom because the stepmother was abusive and mostly towards Amy. And so I think she had some childhood trauma, obviously, and then, had to move to another state. And then she seemed to be doing well. She was pretty and popular and whatever. But then she got pregnant at 20 and had two babies back to back with two different guys. And
she had 3 kids. Didn't she end up having 3 children?
Yeah, she later she met another man later after her kids were a few years old. Yeah, and then they had a child. And to me, it seemed like she was just this person who just couldn't handle that her life had, here she is 25 years old or whatever, and this is her life. And like what she thought her life was going to be was just not matching up with what was happening. And so she wanted to escape. And then, so she escaped. She left her children behind to be cared for by her family. And then she started having these bad relationships with controlling men and, kind of went from relationship to relationship. And she developed like addiction. She really just wanted to check out. And I don't know when she developed all these ideas that she was God. Basically, that's what they believe, that she is God, she is Jesus, in the second coming or whatever. A lot of stuff. They just sort of throw a whole bunch of ideas together, this hodgepodge of things, and made up this cult and says she can heal people, and she's healed people of cancer, and she's done this and she's done that. And all the while, this is another thing, the footage of the documentary, you don't really even hear from her that much. Like she's there in the scenes because she lives in this communal house with like about 25 of the top, cult members who run everything for her. And she's basically always like drunk or passed out or, high. She doesn't really talk a lot because she's just always out of it. And it's like, when is she doing all of her proselytizing, to get these people, recruit these people through YouTube or whatever, to get into the cult?
Well, I think that she did. I think it was one of those things where she did it in the beginning. And I think she did it in the beginning. She got these people and then they became the substitute for it. And she was like, great, I can just check out now. And I think that I also think that from what I witnessed, I think she has a very addictive personality. I think you're right. I think that she has been looking for ways to check out for a long, long time. And obviously, she did not deserve what happened to her. She did not deserve to be abused as a child. All of that is really horrible. But, it sounds like she has been looking for ways, and she has been looking for ways to deal with her problems, except for actually dealing with her problems. And, it started with food. I think she then went in an opposite direction of first it was addicted to food, and then you're addicted to controlling your food because she did have issues with food. And then I think that it was an addiction to men, an addiction to love. And because she obviously, mom pointed it out, like any guy that treated her nicely, she really was not interested in. So she was definitely addicted to love and addicted to a certain kind of love. And then we see I think she got addicted to spirituality. I think she got addicted to light and love, and I am this and I'm that. And I think somewhere in her mind, I think that each thing she was looking for some answer that would cure her, make her feel better. This man will make me feel better. These ding dongs will make me feel better. This drug will make me feel better. And then once she had all these followers and they were accepting this idea of alcohol, weed, cigarettes, me sleeping, me doing this, me doing that, me acting out, all of this is okay. This is part of this process. She was able to just go full hog into being this person. She obviously had a shopping addiction. She just became gluttonous towards the end in a way.
And they all said that she loved attention. She really loved attention, and she thrived on that. And who was it, the first father of God who told her that she was the mother of God? Or who told her that? I thought one of those men told her that.
What was his name?
Amorith. Yeah, the guy who
I think it was
with
it with him?
White beard.
Yeah. He also said twin flames. Maybe we're twin flames. I was like, twin flames came up many times.
Many times they said twin flames. Yeah. Well, yeah, that was supposed to be her twin flame, Amorith. And he was called Father God. And I think he was the one who, started this whole thing with her and basically told her that he was Father God and she was Mother God, and helped her get the cult going, together.
I think he kind of thought that maybe they would be together. But this whole thing, I'm sorry, but the way this whole thing works is what she told people was that she is Mother God. She is here, but she has had many, many past lives. She's been many different things in past lives. She's been Marilyn Monroe in a past life. She's been some, maybe Cleopatra, some different things. And that at the same time, and that she has no traumas. She's here to take on everybody's trauma and pain, which is why she has all these pains, which is why she has to smoke weed and drink and do all of these things in order to deal with everyone's pain. And she has to, and this was my favorite part of this, was she has these galactic A-team. So the galactic A-team is made up of a group of people who all happen to be famous,
dead celebrities,
enough, that are essentially dead celebrities and Trump. But the main ambassador is Robin Williams.
Robin talked to her every day.
Oh my God, all the time Robin was talking to her and telling her stuff.
Yeah.
But I paused it and wrote down, did you see some of these people? I'm going to tell you like a good chunk of these people. So it was Robin Williams, Trump, David Bowie, Carrie Fisher, Patrick Swayze, Whitney Houston, Michael Jackson, Tupac, Leonard Nimoy, Steve Irwin, the crocodile hunter, John Denver, John Ritter, Jim Henson, Kenny Rogers, Christopher Reeve, Kermit. I think that was with Jim Henson. Walt Disney and Mickey Mouse, Regis Philbin, Bob Marley, Mr. Rogers, George Michael, George Burns, Prince, and John Lennon. And I'm sure there's some others that I didn't recognize. Okay, I just want to point something out here because I was doing some math with Amy. So Amy died in 2001. She was 45, which makes her a Gen Xer. And we are Gen Xers. These are all Gen X people. Do you know what I mean? Like the majority of these are not all these people are Gen Xers themselves, but these are all significant people to Gen Xers. Like John Ritter and Robin Williams were on TV when we were young.
Jim Henson, the Muppets.
Jim Henson, Muppets was a big deal. And, we grew up listening to the Beatles. John Lennon died at a significant time for all of us. George Burns was in our household. Walt Disney, like Leonard Nimoy, like all of these people, Whitney Houston, Carrie Fisher, Star Wars, right? Like Tupac, all of these people I just thought that was hilarious that all of these people, none of them were like turn of the century. Charlie Chaplin was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
It wasn't Gandhi. It wasn't Mother Teresa, but it also wasn't Charlie Chaplin. It wasn't like Teddy Roosevelt. Do you know what I mean? Calvin Coolidge, even an unknown president.
These are just all her favorite celebrities.
Yes. You know? It was all Gen X icons.
Yeah.
I just had to laugh at that. I was just like, you've got to be kidding me. But with such seriousness, her followers are like thinking this with such seriousness. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me.
Yeah. But then something happened with the first father god. I forget how they broke up. But then basically
she was like, this guy's 150 years old. I don't want to be with him.
Yeah. And basically, whoever was her boyfriend, that was the new father god. So she hooked up with this guy, Andrew, and he became, was the next one Michael?
No. Well, Michael, so was it Michael or Miguel? Because they called him different names. So I don't know if his real name was Michael or Miguel.
They called him Archangel Michael.
So that guy, I swear to God, when I first saw that guy at the beginning of the thing, I said to myself, this guy, I don't trust him. I don't trust him as far as I can throw him. He's going to do something shady. And
he was the money guy, right?
He was the money guy. Yeah. He basically thought that Amy cured his cancer. And in the back of my mind, I'm like, I don't think he thinks Amy cured his cancer. I think he thought he saw some money signs. So basically, he was good with computers, and he was in finance, and he came out and he basically was like, he and Andrew started following Amy because he was addicted to painkillers. So she was attracting, and that's the other thing, all the people that she was attracting were people that were also in pain like her. Mm-hmm. So he was looking for something in his life. He finds her. He wasn't even that interested in her. She kind of threw herself at him, and he was like, okay, well, I'll just go along with it. But he's the one that said, marketing and branding wise, you should really change this too. And they changed it to Love is One. So it was Andrew and this Michael Miguel who really kind of got the business rolling for her. And then she started doing these like awakening sessions, and she was quote unquote curing people of cancer and doing all this stuff.
Gosh, how convenient.
Yeah. And she said that she was 100% life. But Andrew noticed that pretty early on. He was like, she was 100% light, but she was drinking herself into oblivion. Mm-hmm. And he was like, we can't keep, come on, this isn't true. You can't keep saying these things. And they basically said to Andrew, get on board or not. Mm-hmm. And Andrew's like, I got to get off, no, bye. And he leaves, and those two keep going.
Yeah. And then the next one was she thought he was the next father god, but he says that he knew he wasn't. This guy, John. And it looks like Henry. They just kind of hooked up and fooled around. And she gave him the name
Father. Yeah, sorry.
Father Multiverse.
Whatever that means.
So he wasn't an official father god. He's Father Multiverse. So he has some status, I guess.
And then we meet some of her main followers. We meet Faith, she's already a spiritual healer, and she comes in to heal. We meet Hope, whose real name is Ashley, and who, we later learn that around the time that she joined, she had just lost her job and broke up with her boyfriend. We meet Aurora, who's originally from South Florida, who was graduated from in high school in 2008. We meet Elmoira, whose dad died of Oxycontin. We meet Mary, who's 60, whose marriage just ended. See, again, like you see a pattern with all of these people. All these people were at a point in their lives where they were like, my life is falling apart. Yeah. I don't know what to do. And they were just, I think that she said to every single person, you should come out here. I see such potential in you. I see such light in you. Like every single person that did a healing session with her, I think she said the exact same thing, because that was when she said to that Jason Castillo, you are so brilliant. He was so
rocked his world.
That. Yeah. Oh my God. Because he was like, I am. And it was like, it just hit this narcissism and button in him.
And also nobody had ever used that word to describe me. No, I think no one's ever said a nice thing to him. He's probably had a shitty, upbringing, and no one ever said you're brilliant or complimented him in any way. And yeah, all of these people are coming from some situation where they feel out of control. And then along comes a cult leader who offers control and offers, tells you what to do and, offers all this structure and all this,
tells you you're brilliant and wonderful.
Love bombing, as they call it now. So yeah, this is all classic cult behavior.
And then what was this whole thing about Q that they were talking about? Q wasn't for QAnon. Q is for Queen Mother God.
Well, I think I got the sense that they were, because QAnon is just all conspiracy theories, and they were really into conspiracy theories. Like they had conspiracy theories about Hitler and Trump. Like they were Trump fans because, of course, he's part of the galactic whatever.
Yes,
but yeah, they thought everybody was, everyone is out to get Trump. So anything that had anything to do with conspiracies, they were on board with. They were not living in reality. Yeah.
But they had to sell merch. This was my favorite. So they're selling products, sage, cleansing tools, crystals, and letters written by Robin Williams.
Of course. The main galactic member, A-team member. Robin Williams' name is mentioned like once every 10 minutes in this documentary.
And I'm wondering about Robin Williams' family.
I know. They're probably like, what the hell?
Wait a minute, written by him. You can't claim that. Can you claim that you have a letter written by someone who didn't write the letter?
Well, I mean, no, but look what you're dealing with here. You're dealing with crazy people. But yeah, it's like, I'd be like, keep Robin Williams' name out of your mouth, people. Like, just let it go.
And they're also selling this colloidal
silver. Yeah.
Which apparently is the pharmaceutical companies don't want you to know about this because if you knew about this silver, it would take them down. And so, and they're selling it and making it and selling it. I still don't really understand what this stuff is. Like a meth lab.
It's like they're cooking meth. My understanding is, it's just like shavings of silver. Like they would take anything silver, like a part of a lighter, the tip of a lighter. That's not even real silver. It's like metal, but they'd shave it down and you put the shavings into some sort of liquid. I'm not sure what the liquid is. It looks like thicker than water, but it's just, and I guess it does have some in low doses, some medicinal uses, but these people, they just, like towards the end, it was really sad because they were so convinced that this stuff could cure anything. And Mother God is getting sicker and sicker, and they're just giving her more and more of it. And it's just poisoning her. And it was just really gross.
Yeah.
But,
and then that's the end of part 1. And we meet Father of all creation. Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun. And he's always shirtless. He's always shirtless.
If you're wondering what Father of all creation is like, people, he's shirtless and has an ankle monitor.
He's on probation of some sort. He's got a big old ankle monitor. They show him getting out of the shower. Like, what is this, The Bachelor? Like, he's like coming out of the shower with
ladies or gentlemen, whatever floats your boat.
They zero right in on the ankle monitor, and he's got this very, very long hair that he puts in a ponytail, and it's just like, oh my God, who is this? Like,
I mean, but I think the filmmakers were like, oh yes, we've got to show all of this. This guy is classic. I mean, just all of it. The way in which he ate pizza, the way he ate shitty $10 pizza in this crappy motel. And just the self-importance of it all. And yes, no shirt and just all of it. I mean, he is he is a character, like calling the person up. Hey, how's it going? Yeah, I'm on probation. I've got to tell you.
Yeah,
because he's got to check in with his parole officer.
Yeah.
It's like,
And then
don't make this more than it is.
Here's a couple of, these were my favorite lines. He says his last job in the Earth realm, he ran a Blockbuster.
Yes.
So I guess he was the manager.
It was a while
probably
ago.
it was probably the assistant manager at Blockbuster, and they promised him all this stuff. That the store was going to be his, but he was only making $9 an hour, and so, he said this is bullshit. But then he also said that the Matrix is real and everyone is enslaved in it. And I don't know. I just didn't get the sense that he was very spiritual. I got the sense that he was just, very self-important. Like he just thought he was some sort of God walking around on Earth. And,
Well, I think Jason's done a lot of meth. I think Jason is, I agree with you. I don't think Jason has had a great life. I think Jason has probably been on his own for a long, long time. I don't think he's the brightest bulb. But I do think he's street smart. And I think that he's done a lot of drugs. And I think that he has done a lot of meth. And I think that he kind of knows, I think he can go there. And I think he kind of knows it's all not real, but I think he can kind of also figure out how to put himself there to be real. Do you know what I mean? I think he can kind of figure out how to get himself there. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, one of the other members said that basically they knew him like from before or something, and said that he basically had been living on the streets. He has a criminal past, hence the ankle bracelet. And he's just kind of a hustler. He always,
a long rap sheet.
Yeah, he always kind of makes it work somehow. And he saw Amy, or Mother of God, whatever. I think he saw her as a meal ticket. And I mean, I'm sure he cared about her. Whatever.
Yeah. Well, but he was very clear, like, because the other person who said he had a long rap sheet and that he was living on the streets and that he had child, issues with children, like child issues, but it was child neglect, not child abuse. Like that he wasn't someone who was abusing children, but like neglecting children, like probably not paying child support or probably abandoning children or something like that. Like he's not a good guy, but he's not, awful. He's not awful on that level. So, but the thing is that he, and I think he made it pretty clear to us that he walked into this giant house and was like, oh, this is nice. This is good living. And very clearly realized, I don't want to be a servant to these people. I want to be in charge. How do I be in charge? Oh, I snuggle up to this head person. And I give her what she wants. And, he figured out pretty quickly, oh, she likes bad boys. So here I go.
Yeah.
And he did it.
He's working it.
And so when Mom would pass out, Jason made everybody's lives hell. He would play heavy metal music and he would, and that's when we hear the whole backstory of Amy's life about how she attracted the worst boyfriends and bad relationships and these guys that were controlling and all of that. And then apparently, I guess, then there was this habit of Jason would leave on the weekends to go do meth and then come back on Monday and have to go stay in the basement for a while. And then there was this cycle continuing and happening all the time. So basically, Mom got mad. And so she needed to go to Oregon. And if Jason really cared about her, he would find her. And then the rest of the team had to go to Crestone. And then 24 days later, Jason found her. So they must have told him where she was. They just probably gave him no money and said, figure out how to get there.
He arrived in Oregon. Was it Mount? Oh, wherever she was. He arrived with shirtless with 11 cents in his pocket.
Yes.
But by God, he got there. He He's like, I'm not stupid.
They didn't even give him a shirt for that.
Yeah. I mean, what was he, hitchhiking, shirtless? I mean, I don't know.
Yes.
So
Yes.
weird.
God knows what Jason did to get up there. But he got up there.
Yeah, so the Galactics told them, they said that, half the people would go to Crestone, Colorado, and then Amy and some other people went to Oregon. And oh my God, so when they're in Oregon in this house that looked pretty nice, but the neighbors hated them, because of course they're a cult. A cult has moved into their neighborhood. And also they didn't like the fact that they smoked cigarettes all the time. And they said, this is high fire danger, drought, you're going to set the place on fire. And by Jove, somebody did. This ding dong, I don't know what her name is.
But Aaron. Hold on. But it wasn't from cigarettes. Well, it was from sage.
She was burning some sage, as one does. And somehow it got out of control. And literally they show the entire house engulfed in flames. And was it Jason who was kind of narrating this? Yeah, he's kind of laughing about it. He's literally
They're all kind of laughing about it.
Yeah, because you know what? They don't give a shit. They don't pay for any of this. They didn't pay for this. Isn't their home that they paid for. They're just like freeloaders who are just traveling around, and they'll just get some more money off the internet from people and go find some other place to stay. And they just kind of laughed and nonchalantly just walked away from this burning house that probably eventually started a forest fire.
Yeah,
I mean, that was nuts. That was nuts. Yeah. Then so they just left Oregon and went to Colorado, and just got some big old broken down house, and that was their new headquarters. And that's what they did. They just had all these headquarters where they've just all lived together, and they filmed their they basically live streamed their lives.
Just like all these other documentaries, they recorded everything. Yeah. Everything was filmed. Everything. I mean, it was just like, here she is being wheeled in a wheelchair up a ramp. It's being filmed. The fire, Jason finds her. That's being filmed. Everything is filmed. And these people are not good actors that I believe that they recreated things.
Oh, no.
I mean,
this is
what
is their life.
Is this? So if you're starting a cult, do you know eventually you're going to get caught and there's going to be a documentary about you? And you're like, well, we better film everything.
No,
I mean, I just don't understand these people. Why are you filming everything?
Well, they have to film it to get people who are watching it to feel like they're part of it, so they'll give money.
Yes, that part I understand. But why do you need to film Jason finding her or the fire?
Or they're narcissists. I mean, they think that they're making history. I think, they're here with Mother God, who's going to ascend. And then I don't know what happens after she ascends. Then what? What is the world healed and cured? And what is the end game here?
Yeah.
What's going to happen? She's just going to be gone. The world's not. Do they think the world's going to all of a sudden be perfect?
Well, that's the thing. Is that they despite. I mean, that's what a lot of people. Why people leave cults is that the thing that the cult leader says is going to happen never happens.
Yeah.
And because it doesn't happen. People finally realize oh, this is not true. And we'll get into this because eventually Mother God does quote unquote ascend. But that's, I think that if Amy hadn't died, I do wonder if these people would still be speaking her gospel, because in some ways it kind of saved her mission, because she did eventually ascend, because she did deteriorate. Yeah. She did actually, they watched her deteriorate and die. And it kind of went along with her with, a little bit of a self-fulfilling prophecy. But yeah, that's the thing. What do these people think, that there is now a new Mother God that's going to show up? Because if technically she was once Marilyn Monroe and now she was Amy Carlson, shouldn't she then reappear as someone new? In theory, shouldn't there a new Mother God? Hello, people. You know what? If you really want to start a cult,
there you
claim
go.
your Mother God. You're back in.
That's all you got to do. Get in touch with Hope and Aurora, and they'll get the live stream going.
Just say, Robin Williams told me. Amy and Robin Williams.
Yes, this is how you know I'm for real. Robin Williams told me to contact you. And that we need
Amy
to go. Yes, whatever.
Up then, in heaven.
Then they start this era where they get into like the extreme food control, and so basically they start recording. What was it? Was that Hope? Was the one who?
Yes.
She records in a notebook basically everything that Mother God does, says every day, down to she's documenting how many times she sneezes and documenting
because
weight.
Hope and Aurora, they're in the room with her because Mother God is training them to speak to Robin so that they can speak to Robin to connect with the Galactics to get the protocols
and to tell them what to eat. She said
because the God and Galactics need to tell her what to eat. Yes.
Yeah. And then the Galactics also told them that they need to move their live stream to 6 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's just the most random stuff.
My favorite is an etheric meeting. So she would go into these etheric meetings. To me and you, it looks like she was sleeping.
Yeah, she's napping.
But really, she's... No, Brooke. But she's in a meeting. She's speaking to the gods in this meeting, but she's sleeping. But to you and me, it looks like she's sleeping, but she's really in this meeting. I'm like, God damn it. These cult leaders are pretty fucking smart. Yeah. I mean, how did I not come up with that one?
Is that a real word? Is etheric a real word? Like,
I don't know. I don't know. Etheric meeting. Basically,
meaning. What is
so
it?
Now every time I'm napping, I'm just going to say I'm in an etheric meeting.
It says, etheric. What is the meaning of etheric? Of or relating to the heavens or a spiritual world or plane of existence. So maybe she was during these naps. This is how she was communicating with Robin Williams and the rest of the crew.
Yes. But the rest of us just saw it as sleeping. But yeah. And then this is when we meet Sarah, who's a former member who, again, was in a very vulnerable place. She had this horrible disease. She didn't know what was going on. She was in a coma for 10 days. She had $500,000 in medical bills. And this is where we first learn about the food thing, where she had money of her own. She just showed up there in Colorado and she felt a lot of love. They were very loving towards her, but she wanted to buy pizza. And Michael was like, oh no, we don't spend money on pizza. We don't spend money on food. We don't do that. That it became that the less food you ate, the higher your vibration would be. And it comes out how Amy had issues with food and that she had an eating disorder growing up and that she always struggled with her weight. And so again, just like all these other cults, it becomes, and you can see in the film and the footage, everyone becomes skinnier and skinnier.
Oh yeah, they're wasting away. One of the guys said he lost like over 100 pounds or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they have food restriction and also sleep restriction.
Yes, you don't need food or sleep.
Yeah, and then the obsessive logging of the weight, and and they're still just asking people for money. Like if Amy wanted something, they'd go on and say, "Oh, Amy wanted a go-kart," and they're like, Mom needs a go-kart. She should have a go-kart. Come on. Trying to get people to donate more money and give more money. And whatever Amy wanted, she got it. And the money was still coming in. And then
during this time, she was becoming more, and you heard it, she was becoming more abusive and mean and yelling and throwing fits. And they were being told that it was like another vessel that was yelling at them. Like they would use basically Robin Williams. Like Robin Williams was coming through her yelling at them. I'm like, God damn it. Don't keep blaming Robin Williams' name.
Don't blame this on
Robin
him.
Williams.
Yeah. No, bitch, you're drunk.
She's just being
drunk. Yeah, you're being an obnoxious drunk.
Yes,
you're being awful.
And the reality is, you're drunk, you're an addict, and you are and you want what you want when you want it, and you've gotten used to it, and you're being a fucking bitch. And that's what was happening. But instead, all the followers are like, Mom is in such a mood.
Because she's processing. She has to process all of the pain of all humanity. That's their excuse. And that's why she gets so nasty. And then she has to drink to feel better so she can pass out and just get a rest, you know?
Yes. And then we see this close-up video of her, and oh my God. I mean, she looks awful. And they keep telling her like, oh, this is the pain, this is humanity, you know. But the thing is no, it's not, people. It's alcoholism. It's what she's doing to her body. It's like they're talking about all the pain. It's like, no, these are symptoms of alcoholism and not having enough nutrients in your body. I mean, her diet was horrendous. Velveeta, cheese and bread and pasta, and she had horrible skin.
Well, she had
this stuff.
She had these boils like all over her body, all over her face and her body. She looked like she was dying, and she was dying. And this is like the beginning of her physical deterioration that leads to her death. And I think she's just drinking vodka all the time. Oh, in fact, when they were fleeing, was it when they were fleeing the fire? I forget when it was, but they were talking about how one of the women said she went into the house to grab Mom's vodka. Like that's what they took. The house is burning. We got to make sure we get the vodka.
Well, one of them said something about like, oh, she has all these different medicines. And they said, well, to the untrained eye, it would seem like Mom was an alcoholic. And it's like, well, some of us are trained. She's an alcoholic. She's a raging alcoholic.
Yeah. She's not eating.
Why? We're not stupid.
Yeah. She's not eating. She's like throwing up all day. She's like under 100 pounds. She's got the skin thing. Then she starts to lose her ability. She has, I don't know if it's nerve damage or she's just so weak. And so, she can't walk, she has to be carried everywhere. She cannot even stand up. Her feet get all weird. She's dying. She's actively dying.
Well, also, gout is a common symptom of alcoholism. It could have been gout. It could have been, she could have had gout and some other things, and she probably could have walked. But when you're an anorexic and you don't get enough nutrients, low potassium, low everything, things start to happen to you. It's very serious. But so basically, they're seeing that Amy's deteriorating. So the big conclusion is humanity did not choose God. So the galactic team, they need to evacuate her, and because of the deterioration process. So Robin Williams says it's time. But Amy needs to be 104 pounds to get on the Starship.
That's the ideal weight for ascension. 103 or 104, according to Robin Williams. R.I.P. God.
So, and then during this time, Amy calls her Earth family. And it's interesting. I was really surprised the mom didn't go to see her, because she was worried.
She said she was afraid. Well, I think she was afraid of what she would see. And I don't blame her. She hasn't seen Amy in 20 plus years. And I don't know if she was watching the live stream or, if she knows anything about what's going on or what she's doing, but I could understand that.
Yeah.
So instead,
I don't know.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I was kind of surprised. I would think Mom would want to take whatever opening she had to try and see if she could save her. But so of course the irony of all of this, right, is that she is dying. She desperately probably could have lived if she got medical help, got some sort of intervention. But, and apparently Amy would say at times, maybe I should go to the hospital. And her followers would be like, oh no, we would never take you to a hospital. We know you would never go, what they call like 3D. 3D, 5D. What is it? It's 3D. We live in 3D and they're in 5D. Is that the Matrix?
Yeah.
Is the Matrix 5D or 3D? Are we in the Matrix or are they in the Matrix? I'm so confused.
I've never seen the Matrix. I don't know anything. But basically, because Amy had been telling them for all these years that hospitals were evil and they didn't cure people, they killed people, and only she could cure people. And they're also still plying her with more and more and more of this colloidal silver. And they're just giving her, the sicker she gets, the more of it they give to her, which is making her sicker. And it's just, it's horrible to watch. But the spaceship never came. Then the galactic team told her, well, you know what? You know where you're going to ascend? Hawaii. You need to go to Hawaii.
Great place to ascend. That's where I would want to ascend to.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
So here's part 3. I thought the one woman who was they interviewed, she was a writer for the Crestone Times. I thought she made a very good point. She's like, she trained them not to see her as a human being.
Yeah.
And they stopped treating her like a human being. And I was like, I was just like, that she caused this herself. And I thought that was so interesting. Like when people do that to themselves of like, you, Amy, you wanted to feel, because I think this was the other part of it too, of why she liked this and how she got here was she wanted to be seen. She wanted to feel special. She wanted to feel something. And I think that it's back to if she could get one of these bad boys to, stop being a bad boy and love her, or if she could, I don't know, get someone's attention, if she could feel good about herself, if she could do this, if she could do that, she would finally feel complete. And I think that she thought that, I'll have all these people love me and it'll be great. And it's like, and then they killed you because they didn't get you help. Yeah. Anyway.
I loved that woman, Mary Lowers, the reporter.
Yeah, she was great.
She had this great line in the one of the first scenes where she said, talking about Crestone, and she says that there are places where the veil is thin between the worlds, and this is one of those places. Weird shit happens here. I thought that was such because I know what she's talking about.
Yeah.
I know places like that.
It makes me want to go to Crestone. I'm like, I want to check this place out. What is this place? And I guess, is Mount Shasta the other place that I didn't know Mount Shasta was such the place that
I don't think
travel
it is.
to.
I don't think it's, is it a place where people ascend or it's just where the Galactics told her to go, and it's sort of random.
I haven't been to Mount Shasta in a long time. It's not far from here.
No, it's Northern California, extreme Northern California, but I don't know. I don't know who came up with this. Robin Williams.
Okay. Yeah. Blame him.
Yes.
So then we get on to part 3, and it starts off by you know what? You know who's going to blow up your spot? Your Gen Z kid. They're going to get on TikTok and talk about you. So Maddie gets on TikTok and tells the story, and she knows her mom is Mother God, and she wants to tell her tale.
Yeah. So this is July of 2020, and they go to Kauai, and she's starting to turn blue. Like,
yes,
in this scene, when they're in Hawaii, she's starting to turn blue. And this is when her sister Tara contacts Dr. Phil. And Amy, because she's just loves attention, she willingly agrees to go on Dr. Phil. She said she thought it would be Oprah. She thought she would make her big debut on Oprah, but she'll take Dr. Phil.
But she loves Dr. Phil.
Yeah, she likes Dr. Phil. But it didn't go anywhere. Like they didn't.
Well, and the family was mad too. The family was mad too because because they felt like Dr. Phil was going to intervene. There was a lot of miscommunication because I think, or the producers promised something that they didn't deliver, or something went awry. I don't know why you would think that Dr. Phil would be your savior, or why you would think Dr. Phil. I mean, I understand the family felt like they were at their wits' end with this and wanted or something, but it was just.
But what's he supposed to do? What
I don't know. I don't know what they thought he could do, because the reality is, unless she's willing to get help, there's nothing you can do. There's nothing you can do. So it's not on Dr. I mean, I don't, justice for Dr. Phil, because I don't think it's on him. He can say, here's a treatment center and here you go, and we can set you up for it and get you there. But he can't make her change her mind about any of these things. And Amy, your mother God, shouldn't you already know that your parents, your mom and your sister are there to kind of try to convince you or talk you out of these things? I mean, hello. So everybody, egos.
Oh, yeah.
But then Amy really screws up. Amy makes a huge misstep. She says, and I can't remember, this came out because it was in a video. She says that she's Pele.
The goddess
who is
Hawaiian volcano goddess.
Yes. And do not say you're Pele. Because the Hawaiian people do not want to hear that. They are not putting up with this shit. Hawaiians are not putting up with this crap.
No, they literally ran her out of town. They were a group of them came to her house and were outside yelling and we're not going to leave until she left. And she literally had to just leave in the middle of the night or something.
No, the mayor came. The mayor came and removed her. The mayor showed up and said, "You got to get the fuck out of here. You're not Pele. Go." Bye. Smashed her windows. They were like, "Get out of here." So don't mess around in Hawaii, people, because they're not going to take your crap.
That was really intense. So the next place they had to flee to was back to Mount Shasta. Oh, I have written down here.
No.
Some New Age people think that that's a portal. Mount Shasta is a portal.
Yeah, I think they go back to Colorado first, and then they go back to Mount Shasta because she's very depressed. She goes back to Colorado, she's super depressed, but they still had to keep making money for her. She wasn't on camera anymore, but they kept having to make money. And then in March of 2021, she goes to Mount Shasta, and that's where she's supposed to ascend.
But she doesn't ascend. And then the Galactics come back and they say, well, you need to go back to Oregon. And then we see Hope and Aurora telling her it's time to go. She's very, very blue. She's dying. This is so sad. Watching her. And finally she died,
This is what I love, are all these, her quote unquote medicines. So the Galactics are okay with taking Xanax and gabapentin because that's what she was taking towards the end.
Oh.
I'm like, these Galactics are really okay with all these drugs. Go on. But yeah.
Well, yeah.
But yeah, she dies and Jason says, well, we need to keep going. We just need to keep going. So for 3 days, they keep taking care of her. They think
she's
alive.
They're like, look, her. Oh, they were measuring electromagnetic activity near her body, saying that her body was producing electricity, that her hearts are still beating, that her body is warm. I don't think so, and they're calling it it's a resurrection.
So I don't understand that thing. They kept showing us how they would move that electrode thing to her, and it would be 0, and then it would go back to Amy, and it would be 260. What is that thing, and why? What is making that? Well, I'm like, is it just because someone has some jewelry on or something?
No, well, you do have electrical stuff happening. Your brain sends I believe. I'm not a doctor, but I believe that there is electromagnetic activity in the body where the brain sends signals to places in the body. But I don't know. Like, they're measuring it with some machine. I mean, I don't know. Obviously, she's dead. We all know she's dead.
Yeah.
But I think they just kind of don't know what to do. Like, because they thought that she was going to ascend and they wouldn't have to deal with her body. They thought that the aliens or the spaceship or whatever was going to come,
or
and pick
Robin
her,
Williams at least,
or Robin Williams, or Prince, whoever showed up, and they weren't going to have to deal with a dead body. Well, now they have a dead body, and they do not know what to do. So they put her in the car. They wrap her up, in a sleeping bag, or maybe that happened later, but they put her in the car and put a hat on her, because they actually get pulled over by the police. They put a hat on her and put her in the back seat and made it look like she was just sleeping. So then they got pulled over, but the cop thought it was just someone sleeping, I guess. And they camped with her in the forest as they drove the body to some place in Oregon. And they were still waiting for the Galactics to come and pick her up. And they just never came. And they were really in a pickle. But basically, they ended up going all the way back to Colorado. They traveled through 5 states with a dead body wrapped in a sleeping bag and Christmas lights on it. And as this is happening, Michael drains the bank account.
Yes. And I knew it. I was like, God damn it. I knew this guy was going to do this, because guess what? I knew this. Nothing was in Amy's name. Nothing. The house that they lived in was in Michael Miguel's name. Mm-hmm. Everything was in his name. So the minute these guys showed up with Amy's body, he was like, what? Like, what is going on? And he said, okay, here's my chance. He goes to the police and says, hi, there's these people. They're in my home with a dead body. Can you get them out for me?
Yeah. I had nothing to do with this.
In the beginning.
Yeah. I love that, how he acted like he had nothing to, and he didn't have anything to do with moving her body or because he never left. Michael always stayed. Because he was not he was just using these people. He was playing the long game. He was not interested in traveling around with them looking for spaceships. He's back at home, like making sure that the money is straight, and that the products are being sold and, money's coming in.
Yes. So. Yeah. And apparently, like, he dissolved all of the websites. He got like 330,000 in total, which honestly, I thought they would have a lot more than that. They must have spent, I can imagine, like, they traveled around a lot. They had a lot of big houses, but that house in Crestone looked like a piece of crap. Like, how much could that rent be?
Yeah, they're not
or whatever it is. But they're big. They were nice. Mount Shasta and some of these other places they were in looked nice. Ashland is a nice place. So, I don't know. I'm not quite sure, because it seemed like they were selling a lot. They would get random donations just to donate. So that was really surprising too. I don't know. I just thought there would be more, but anyway.
Yeah. And the police actually charged some of these folks with, mishandling a corpse. The charges were eventually dropped, but yeah, it's gross.
They did an autopsy, and the autopsy was organ failure from anorexia, alcohol abuse, and colloidal silver.
Yeah.
And so this is the other part too, is like, what do these followers believe? Right? What do these followers believe is happening here? This is what she died from the colloidal silver. Are you still pushing this?
Yeah.
She died from anorexia. She died from alcohol abuse. All of the things that you were giving her to cure her.
And she never ascended. That was the big thing that the Galactics were telling them, or telling Amy, and Amy's telling her followers that this is going to happen. And they talked about it incessantly, and they talked about it excitedly, like Hope and Aurora would go on their live stream and they would be like, Mother is ascending. This is just so wonderful. And oh, we're all so excited and, it's going to be wonderful. And then I'm thinking, okay, and then what? Let's say she does ascend. We talked about this earlier. Then what happens? What do you think is going to happen for you? How do you think, how is your life going to get any better? The
group at first, the group that wasn't arrested, because everyone who was actually physically in the house at the time that the body showed up gets arrested, charges get dropped. A bunch of them end up in Vermont. They go as far as they can. And the believers still feel like they completed the mission. But then we see everybody a year later and get updates on their lives. And they're all still, Jesus Christ. For the most part, in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Hope hasn't seen or talked to her mom in 10 years.
Which is crazy.
And Hope calls her. And, the mother is very careful about what she says because she's trying to establish, some communication here. She says, thank you for calling me. And she says, I never meant to hurt you. And Hope is still very, very thin. And we watch her shopping at a grocery store or something. I know.
Yeah.
But then we find out that Aurora went back to Florida. And she's like, she's like, Florida's very 3D. And she's like, I'm going to see my Earth mom. I mean, I always thought Aurora, because she talked about how she came from like a, wealthy, like, I don't know, South Beach, Palm Beach, wherever she's driving through some nice neighborhood.
This is kind of like a middle class neighborhood here. Do you know what I mean? I was like, shouldn't she be in a wealthier neighborhood? I don't know. I thought it looked pretty nice, but she says she's going to see her Earth mom. She's just very flat. She's I don't know, but Aurora and Hope live near each other in Florida, and they co-host a 5D spirituality web series. So what is then? So we all live in 3D. Yeah. 2D is something that's on paper, right? What would 4D be, and what would 5D be?
I have no idea.
I'm so confused.
That's all made up. I mean,
Yeah, I guess I figure out something.
3D is just the earthly world that everyone else lives in, but these people are special, so they have to make up a new name. They live in 5D, whatever the hell that means. I don't know. This is all made up.
Yes. So Jason,
this is funny. I think this is funny. Jason, Father God, and John, Father Multiverse. They
live together in Wisconsin.
Yeah, and they post videos together.
Yes. They have a company called Joy Reigns, and they do videos together. So they're sticking with this. I think Jason's like, I'm going to keep riding this out. Faith is a healer in Colorado. She was doing this stuff before. El Moira is in Florida. He's got 40,000 followers on Telegram. What's Telegram?
No idea.
I've never even heard of that. Buddha and Mary were an odd pairing. They're roommates in Colorado.
That's an odd couple.
But the one good thing is Erin in Colorado. She's in Colorado now, and she's reunited with her 3 kids. So that was very positive. I was like, oh, thank God.
Yeah. How did that happen?
Miguel declined to be part of the film.
Of course.
I have one other little theory about this film, just in terms of the time, because I do think that certain, cults always come up. There's always cults, but I think that there's, we were talking about escaping twin flames and why that came about and how that came to popularity because of a combination of the internet and just how isolated we've become, and then the pandemic and how people felt lonely. I think what's interesting about this is I think a lot of these people, that a lot of this started to happen around the 2006, 2007, 2008. Like, these years were hard for a lot of people. I think that if you were young and graduating from high school or college during those years, there's a lot of like, what was the purpose of all of this?
Right.
Since I work with young people, it's always interesting because I have, you know, when I work with millennials, I always kind of put them in two different camps. I have the millennials who graduated during those years, college, like the 2008, 2009, 2010, those years. And then I have other millennials that are, you know, younger who graduated in 2013, 2014, 2015. And they have these, even though they're part of the same generation, they had very different experiences because of what was going on. You know, the ones that graduated during the height of the recession, a lot of them ended up going to grad school when they didn't really want to and kind of had paths. Some of them really struggled for a long time to find their path. Some of them, you know, their confidence got rocked a lot because they, you know, because of just how hard it was. So it's interesting sort of seeing sort of the timing of everything that I think a lot of these people, there was also, you know, the couple of these people were connected to Oxycontin and painkillers. Like there was the Oxycontin thing was happening at the time. I mean, obviously it's still happening, but the rise of that coupled with the recession, I think that was interesting too. I think it was just sort of, I just think that she attracted a lot of these people that were feeling really lost. And they talked a lot about, even though they were constantly getting money and it was a for-profit business, they talked a lot about, you know, the 3D world. What did that represent? That represented this world that was unfair, unjust, right? Because what was happening was, you know, these banks and you know, everything that was, I barely understand everything that happened in 2008 anyway, but like just the fact that,
well, it was the housing market. The
housing market crashed.
And then there was a recession. And yeah, I think you're onto something. This was, I think, a real millennial kind of, because all those people living in the house, except for like Mary, and were millennials. And I think that, you know, it's interesting because our generation, Gen X, we kind of had the same thing happen to us, but we reacted very differently. So like when you don't get the life you think you're going to get in terms of, you know, you come out of college and you can't find a job, even though you've been told go to college and you'll be able to get a good job. If you're not able to buy a house, if you're not able, you know, it's the American dream, you know, that's promised to every generation. But we had the same thing, you know, when I graduated in 91, it was a big recession. It was the first Iraq war. Things weren't great, you know, but our generation kind of we were like, okay, well, I guess I'll go back to school and, you know, get a law degree. I guess I'll do this. I'll just keep going. I'll just put my head down and keep going, you know, and I'm just going to keep going. And whereas I feel like a lot of the millennials, they kind of get just, I don't know. That's like it's the shock to their system and they can't move past it. And so then they go out and they search for, okay, well, if I can't have the life that I thought I was going to have that, you know, was promised to me by America, you know, then I'm going to go out and I'm going to do my own thing and I'm going to make my own community. And I'm not going to work within the system. And Gen Zers are even more like that. They don't work within the system. They do their own thing. They figure out ways to, you know, can't get a job. Okay, well, I'm going to start my own business online, or, you know, I mean, they have so many more options, obviously, than we did. But that was, I just found, like we talked about, all these people had like big disappointments in their life, and just that kind of derailed them.
Yeah. Well, so I talk a lot about the generations and the generations at work. And if anyone would like to hire me to come to your company, I do that, to talk about the generations at work. And you know, what I think is really interesting, because I've had this conversation with many, many people of various ages. And what's been really interesting is I think that baby boomers, you know, they were taught life is hard. If you work hard, you may get something for it. And then we came around, and I think we were really taught, you know, life is hard, but if you work hard, you will get something from it, and, you know, you will be happy. And then I think what happened with millennials was if you work really hard, you will be happy. The problem is that sort of story changed. You know, with baby boomers, their story of what they were told by their parents was happiness is not a guarantee. by any means. Like, work hard and you'll get something from it.
Their parents their parents lived through the Depression.
Yeah.
So relatively speaking, if you had a house and a car and, your bills were paid and there was food on the table, life was great.
Yes. But happiness was never a guarantee. And then I feel like the boomers then had us, our parents are a little bit slightly older than boomers, but the older boomers, the ones that were raised by the people who went through the Depression, they feel like, oh God, that was so heavy handed by my parents. I want to give my kids some hope. So we were taught, right, that, you have to work hard. That's important. But if you work hard, you will get something. And, you should seek some happiness in this, but don't forget to work hard and you have to pay dues. And I think we went into the workforce and into life with a lot more reality of what it's going to take. What happened with millennials, and I do have to defend them, is that their parents who were young, like older boomers, young Gen Xers, however you want to, how you want to describe them. I think for them, they were really reeling against, millennial parents really, really wanted to give their kids a different kind of life. They really wanted their kids to have a good life, a special life. At the same time, there was a lot of misinformation. This was during the time where everyone was getting red ribbons and everyone gets a prize and everyone needs to be praised and everyone needs to be told how important they are, right? There was a lot of misinformation about how you build someone's self-esteem. And the thought was like, let's make everybody a winner. And so millennials were raised with this idea of we're all winners, we're all special, and let's not tell them how hard life is. Let's just tell them that, you're special, you're good. That'll make them feel good. And they are hard workers. It's just that no one really mentally prepared them that like things are 20 times harder than you think they are. And they had social media. So all they saw growing up was how easy life was for other people because that's what was being presented to them. So what happened was, and then they graduate. They were sold this bill of goods of, if you do everything right, you will be happy, you will get a job. And then at the exact time, we have the worst recession ever. And then their dreams are like completely dashed. So it really was this perfect storm of so many things happening at the same time. And I think that unfortunately, this is where a lot of this like whininess and the feelings that they got was that a lot of it was just a combination of misinformation, because what I think Gen Zers are very different, because I think we know so much more about parenting now and how to parent. It's about growth mindset and resilience and like teaching kids how to get past difficult things. You survive that challenge and good for you and you can do it. It's like praising the growth, praising being not like, being okay with emotions, but also praising them for rising to the occasion. It's not the outcome. It's not the outcome. It's, showing up and all of that kind of stuff. So I think, but you're right. And that was the same thing with Twin Flames. The Twin Flames documentary was also a lot of, millennials too, who are lonely, looking for love, because again, that sort of expectation or belief of what life is going to be and what love is going to look like. I think unfortunately, and, again, first generation that, grew up when everyone had a public forum to criticize them. So.
Oh yeah. Well, that's key. The internet, it's the best invention ever and the worst invention ever.
Yes.
It's just, it's amazing. And, hopefully, I think kids are now starting to learn how to navigate it and use it. But when it first started, it was kind of like, well, I don't know.
Yeah. No one knew.
It's still bad. It's still bad, but that has to be, now we got to start teaching that, like how to deal with all that. But anyway, this was, it was a very interesting documentary.
It was.
It was. It had it all. It had some funny moments, some sad, dark moments.
Yeah.
But
it is. It's really, really sad. I do wonder if if someone had intervened and took her to a hospital, if she could have, gotten help, if she could have gotten into treatment, could she have gotten herself out of this and, reunited with her kids? I don't know. I think it's really sad. We see her two older children and just, not having a mother and how hard that must be. And, seems like maybe Linda had to raise them, and that I'm sure Linda, that was more than Linda really wanted to do. And, that, all of that. So that's a lot.
Yeah.
And I mean, 10, finding out, we have some bad news, your mom left. I mean, Jesus Christ, that poor 10-year-old.
It's rough.
It's terrible. So, anywho, well, thank you so much for tuning in. We really, really appreciate it. If you do not follow us and subscribe to our podcast, please do. And if you haven't already, please give us a 5-star rating and review. And we are on social media at Psych Legal Pop, TikTok and Instagram. And again, on Tuesdays, we are continuing our Sister Wives coverage for the time being. And on Thursdays, we are doing documentaries. And I think that's it. Yeah. And if you have any suggestions, please reach out and give us your suggestions. We do, even if we don't do them, we do look at everything and talk about it. We just both have to agree on it. So, and sometimes we don't agree. So anyway, thanks so much. We'll see you next time.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
Howdy, howdy, ho, and welcome to Fantasy Fan Fellas. I'm Hayden, producer of the Fantasy Fangirls podcast and your resident lover of all things Sanderson.
And I'm Steven, your bookish internet goofball, but you can call me the Smash Daddy.
And we are currently deep diving Brandon Sanderson's fantasy epic, Mistborn. But here's the catch. Steven here has not read Mistborn before.
That's right, hey. So each week, you'll get my unfiltered, raw reactions to every single chapter.
And along the way, we'll do character deep dives, magic explainers, and Steven will even try to guess what's next. Spoiler alert, he'll be wrong.
Newsflash, I'm never wrong. Episodes come out every Wednesday, and you can find Fantasy Fan Fellas wherever you get your podcasts.